everyone, and welcome back to What's the Tea with South Suburban Family Shelter. So this is going to be a great episode just because it's pertaining to all the dads and the male leaders out there. I know that yesterday was Father's Day, so if you are watching this and if you are a father, a bonus dad, whatever, whoever you are, happy Father's Day to you. And I hope you had an amazing day. So I know that we have some amazing men on here, and I'm just so thankful that you all came on here to speak about this topic. So today we're going to just be talking about healthy relationships, just in the contents of men, because I found this to be very interesting. Just because as a woman growing up, I feel that we're taught a lot about don't do this, don't go here, don't do this, don't wear that, for us to make sure we're safe and make sure we're not making any ill decisions that can kind of be victim blaming in a way. So I just wanted to start off just by welcoming you all. And if you all could just give your name and, about you, what you do, that would be awesome. So whoever wants to go first.
I'll hop in first. I'm Mitch Condon. I was with South Suburban Family Shelter for 5 years. I am currently teaching fourth grade at Wendell Smith Elementary. And I am T minus 3 months before I myself become a dad.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
I'm Mark Dupree. I was with South Suburban Family Shelter for 2.5 years. I almost made it to the 3-year mark. I'm now working with, I'm a BAM counselor over with Youth Guidance. I have 7 children, so I feel like you always learning. You're never an expert, but if it was anything close to it, with 7 of them, I done had my experience.
Absolutely.
And I am Zach Kapos. I'm a community educator at South Suburban Family Shelter. I do not have any kids, but I am interning as a school counselor, so I do work with youth. So that was one of the reasons why Angie asked me to come on the panel with you all.
And you're a cat dog. I mean, a cat dog, a cat dad. So it's fine, Zach. You're still a parent in a way. So, yes, if you're watching this, make sure you grab your tea. I don't have tea today. I just have a protein shake, but it's fine. Grab your tea, grab whatever you're drinking. So, yes, I was quickly diving into the conversation. It was like, oh, they don't know their names. So, we're going to just bring it back a little bit, right? So, again, my name is Angie. You've probably seen Zach and I on here a few times. So, it's always good to have fresh faces on here that we all can learn from. So, my first question for you all. So, when it came to dating, did your fathers or any male leaders or just your parents in general, were you taught about, healthy relationships, consent, or domestic violence? Was this ever a conversation in your household?
No, I don't think it was ever a direct conversation. I was actually just talking to my wife, Tiffany, about this. Like, I don't think we've ever had a direct conversation, which was different from her because she had the direct conversation about consent, like her, telling her no, how to say no, when to say no. And I thought it was interesting because, like, I don't think I ever had that direct conversation. It was more just like lead by example, and I saw it. But especially with consent, it's like, no, that's who needs to learn it are the boys, right? Because that's the majority of the time the crux of the problem. So I found it interesting. I think it's more like a people think it as like, oh no, that's what we got to tell our daughters. That's what we have to tell. But I'm not sure, and maybe that's just my experience. But it was never a direct conversation. It was more just learning through living, learning from what I'm seeing and what they're showing us.
For myself, a lot of the things that I was taught was from my mother, and other women that helped raise me. At one point in my life, I had a stepfather that I hate using that term with him because he was more of a father than my actual biological father. And I couldn't say he used to pull me and my oldest brother to the side a lot. And at that time I was young, so I didn't understand all of it. I just felt like it was cool that, him and my big brother was including me in the conversation. So, but now that I reflect back on a lot of it, he was schooling us. He was basically telling us about protection, to know when you're ready for those type of big things in your life, such as being sexually active. And some somewhere in there, I didn't listen to it because I started young, and that's one of my huge regrets. So yeah.
And for me, I'll finish out the question. Mine was similar, I think, with Mitch's answer because I don't remember having like a lot of just direct talks. I think a lot of it is picking it up through other people as role models, and um, we'll probably get to it, I think, but I think it kind of just leaves people like to just kind of figure it out on their own, which some people do, and then some people, they don't, they never talk about anything like this, and then whatever happens, happens. But yeah, I think for me it was more of like leading by example, looking at role models and things like that. We did have one like 2-day presentation, I think, in my health class, but that was like 1 year out of like 12 school years, and it was like 2 days long. And I don't think you can just pull someone aside for just 2 days only, and that be the only thing. So
Well, I'm sure you guys get this all the time too. I'm thinking back to giving the presentations on teen dating violence and all that. All the teachers would be like, I never got taught this, and I never got taught it at school either. Like it wasn't a topic that you got taught in school. It was like, no, that's their private issue. We don't talk about what happens at their house. But until I started working there, I didn't really think about it, talk about it, learn about it. So it's interesting in terms of domestic violence. And maybe it's different now. I'm not a kid, I don't know, but that was across the board. Everyone I would talk to in the school, they'd be like, I never had this growing up. So
Yeah, and it's interesting. That's why I asked, because I felt that wasn't really discussed in our household either. So, and it's interesting because, Zach, I don't know if you can reflect back to this, but when we're given presentations in schools, we get all the time, oh, I didn't know that was domestic violence. I was in a few of those relationships that never got taught to us in the household. Or I remember having a student tell me, we need someone like you in all the high schools because this conversation isn't being held in school or in the household. I know personally, from my perspective, I can't speak for all women, but sometimes I feel like with the young girls and maybe with young men, sometimes parents feel, okay, if I don't bring it up, then it's not happening. It won't happen, and we don't have to talk about it. Yeah, I know they're probably 17, but if I talk about sex, then they're going to probably want to do it, right? So I'm just not going to talk about it. When in actuality, a lot of teenagers are going out here, like you said, Mark, going out here and learning things on their own because it's not being taught in the household.
Yeah, and in regards, just a back a little on the domestic violence piece, I pretty much learned about the domestic piece from around me. Domestic violence was around me from since I can remember. Um, it wasn't like towards my mother. However, it was like, how can I say it? Like uncles, play uncles, those that was put in charge to, that's supposed to been teaching me the right things. I had one uncle, he was a pimp. And when I say he taught me and my brother a lot of negative things that ultimately affected us as we got older, that's one of the moments when it would have been a perfect time to have a father figure, a true father, guide us the right way and teach us the things that we should have been learning.
As you said that, I'm just thinking like, I know I said we never had like a direct conversation, but it's little things like where someone can just be like, no, that's not right. They point to a situation or a person or whatever and say, no, that's not how you do that. And I remember situations like that. And those make a big, when it's like you're kind of putting it simply, like, don't do that, don't behave in this way. Oh, okay. Then it just becomes kind of normal.
Right. They telling you what not to do, but not giving you the reason why. We need all of that. We need all that information in order to, to make a conscious decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really true. It's like telling someone, don't touch the stove.
Right.
Well, why? Because I said so. Don't touch it. And it's a lot of kids probably like me. It's like, oh, you said don't do it. I'm going to do it. So, that's definitely true. And just to go back off what you all were saying, we didn't have these type of presentations in schools. The only thing I remember is don't do drugs. Here's the STDs. And that's it. So it's just like, wow. Now, being in this position and going to the schools and giving presentations, it's like, wow, I didn't get this when I was growing up. I wish I knew about this because certain conversations just was not being held in the classroom. I probably thought that domestic violence just happened on movies. Like, I didn't know that it went on until I got into college and had a friend that was going through it, so it wasn't something that I grew up around to even have knowledge about that topic.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. You have something
No,
else?
ma'am.
Go ahead. Oh, so what is the impact of a father's influence when it comes to teaching their children or adolescents or anybody around you about teen dating violence or domestic violence? How could this impact be negative or positive?
I think just just talking about it from the dad, as a father, or being talked about it from your father, I think just it adds another person into the conversation where it's not just, oh no, that's a woman's issue. That you hear that a lot. Oh, that's a woman's issue. No, it's our thing that we do the most of the time. So it's I think it just adds this, I don't know, like the second parent validity, or even if it's just the one parent, I think it just adds validity and you're hearing it and it's honest. And yeah, I mean, I don't know that if there's a difference between like if it's a single mom or a single dad and they talk about it. I think as long as you're having that conversation. I mean, and like I think about a lot of people, like many of us are like one of our parents, right? Like I look like my dad, I act like my dad. Like, so having him talk about it, or having him, kind of say things like that's not okay, we don't do this, that. It kind of just it sits with me more, right? Because I can relate to him more than maybe my mom, who different genders are not as alike, things like that.
I believe one of my beliefs is that, how can I say it? The effects of a father having those conversations and guiding his child, to be respectful, to not be, violent towards a female. It's not enough just to have those conversations. I think it's other parts that have to be in there. Like, one, that child has to have respect for that father. It just can't be because that's my father. If that child has seen that father figure do some things that, hey, a child just don't understand, or let's just say it's not right at all, and and he don't respect them, all the guide in the world coming from him is not going to be there. And I'm speaking from a personal, just to give you a little short snippet, and I don't mind sharing. Like, when I was younger and I had my son, he was young. I was young when I had him, and I was teaching him all the negative things, at that time, because I ain't know no better. I just point, I'm thinking I'm preparing him for the world to be safe. And so now you fast forward when I realize, hey, this is not it. This is not that. Now I'm changing myself. I'm changing my ways. My son looking at me as if like, hey, nah, pops, that ain't what you taught me. And so now it's a wrestling match between myself and him, me trying to get him to realize, look, don't, you don't have to go through what I went through to learn the lesson. You may not come back from it. I almost did. So I don't know. So I really think it's like we need more than conversation, but of course, conversation is much needed. Like you all just been saying, like in many households, it's not even mentioned. It's not even brought up. It's like taboo to even mention.
Now that's really interesting. That's really interesting that you talk about that because in a way, we talk about this in our trainings. It's like telling, your son or your child no hitting, and then you turn around and you pop them for doing something bad. So it's just like it's teaching me one thing, but I see another. And I know we always say the first relationship you see is in the household. So you learn from the people that's in the household with you. But I also want to say too that Mark, unfortunately, but fortunately, you went through that and you learned it so that you could help other people. I truly feel that, it's unfortunate because when we're going through it, it's like, dang, why do I have to go through this? But there's a biggest purpose for all things. And I think with you being so transparent and authentic, your kids probably really appreciate that as well.
I hope so. I truly hope so. I you know I just sat down earlier and wrote my daughter. I have a daughter that's that never been in trouble a day in her life. Never. I mean, honor roll, student, you name it. Like if it was a such thing as a halfway perfect child, she was it. And I talked to her, I mean, from the beginning about domestic violence. If this ever take place, let me know. I'm here, daddy here. And she went through it. She endured it. And she never brung it to me, but I had feelings. I had those feelings. And on one particular day, I said, let me call my daughter because she stay out of state. And just so happened, a situation had occurred to where she allegedly had to defend herself and took a person's life that was, you know, committing domestic violence on her. And it's like, as a father, I felt like defeated. I felt like, okay, I dropped the ball somewhere. What didn't I teach her that was important enough to, you know, to at least have her comfortable enough and in a safe space to reach out to her father. And I wasn't able to save, you know. Um, it's tough because I think of it on a daily basis, like, because I've been there. Like, what is my child going through in there? Anybody that ever been incarcerated, they know, like, there's no friends in jail. Is simply everyone. The way I look at it is a predator in jail. They prey on you, and it's like, okay, I'm out here. I can't do nothing for them. I can send her letters. I can send her money. I can go visit, but I can't take my baby home. I can't hug my baby. I can't kiss my baby on the forehead and tell her everything is going to be all right.
In terms of as you're sharing that, in terms of like, you feel hopeless when they don't reach out, and that's that like stigma around DV is, I think, no matter how much you know about it or how much you talk about it when you're going through it, I imagine it's still that like I don't want to tell anybody, let me try to figure it out, or I don't want to go through whatever, whether it's going to be embarrassing or whatever it may be. There's that stigma. I think that's so difficult to, and it seems like that's in so many of the relationships that are around involving DV. It's like that, getting over that hump to even tell anybody before it gets to a situation that's dire.
Absolutely. And, Mark, thank you for sharing, just your background as well. And in a way, it could have possibly been, I know where my daddy came from, I know where he at now, and I'm not taking my daddy back to that place.
That's one of the things she said. That's one of the things she said. She knew what I would have done, and I'm not sure what I would have done. I don't know if my the skills that I have learned over the years, if I have mastered it to the point, I don't know. So
You can't look at it, because just being a parent, but also hearing from other parents, you give your child the skills and the tools, and then they have to take that. You can only provide them with so much, especially when they get to a certain age. So it's nothing that you didn't do, because as we're talking about it, this open communication, the knowledge, the speaking, this is what we're saying. You gave that foundation. You gave that. So unfortunately, I don't want you to look at it as it's something that I didn't do.
That's something that's like, obviously not a dad yet, but I imagine it becomes like a frustrating part when no matter what it is, big or small, you're like, I taught them that, and then they go like, I mean, I can picture me, all the things that I was taught, and I was like, nope, I'm doing the opposite.
Right.
but I get it though. I get that part, because when I say I had an awesome mother, my mother was a beast when it came down to teaching us things and standing on our necks. She didn't play. My mother didn't play no games. But you have to take into account that majority of the time, especially when we get older, we spend most of our time outside of the household. Yeah. Especially if you have a single parent and she's the breadwinner and she's taking care of the house. She can't be in two places at one time. So when she's over here working to feed us, to clothe us, me and my brother, we over here doing this, learning things that we shouldn't be learning. It's just like was said, or what was it? Don't touch that stove. And I'm like, why? I'm curious.
Yeah. Right. And it's so interesting that we're talking about this. And I know, Zach, with you being a school professional and even, getting your master's right now too, I don't know if you can speak to this as well. So what are some effective approaches, male leaders or dads, bonus dads, just anyone, what are some approaches they can take when talking to teens and adolescents about healthy, intimate partner relationships?
Yeah, I think one of the things Mark said was right on when he said, you have to get that respect also. So you have to model it. So you can't just say the words and then do another thing. Because especially like in a school setting, you're not their parent. So if they can find a hole in what you're saying, they'll run with it. So you.
They're like, my dad didn't say that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, to that point, they're watching you just as if they watch them when they, at home, they watch their parents, they watch the teacher when they're in school.
Yep.
Or who, whatever the adult they're working. Like I always have like a stress ball in my class, and I'm always throwing it against the wall. And then, they're like throwing stuff in the garbage. I'm like, don't throw. You know what? That's my bad.
Yep.
I get it. Yep.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Absolutely. Any other approaches you all can think of? I know that we talked a lot just about having that open communication as well.
One of the things that I feel like is one of the best approaches when you're dealing with adolescents is other adolescents, because you meet them where they at. Once we adults, they feel like all adults know nothing. So you got to get someone on a level that may have been through some things and now they change their ways, or not necessarily been through the things, but just feel strongly and passionate about the situations and can teach them. I think they got a better chance at reaching them than we do. We
definitely can understand.
We like aliens to our youth.
It turns
I
into
can
the
understand.
Charlie Brown, the teacher, the womp womp, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's true. Like even learning from being in the school system, they love somebody that they could really build that rapport with. They unfortunately, I feel that, and I could be wrong, but I feel that sometimes parents hold back from getting the stories that they've been through. They don't want to give, they don't want to talk about that without realizing that is the wisdom. That's what's going to help them. And sometimes I feel that even speaking from my perspective of my parents, I think sometimes you don't want us to realize that you are our age too or something. I don't know, but it's then when we go through something, then that's when it's like, oh, I've been through that. Oh, well, why didn't you tell me about it? Why didn't we
Right,
talk about this? Like,
right. The
why don't
same
I
stuff.
know? Right? Why don't I know these things about you? You know, and then it comes out when it's a little bit too late, to be honest.
And that's what when Mark is saying, you know, you want to, they have to have respect for you. You know, anybody has to respect you if you're going to if they're going to listen. Otherwise, they're not going to. And that's how you build that. Being honest, right?
Yes.
Being direct.
But we can't go off trying to, like most parents, we try to be perfect. You know, we want the image in our children's eyes to be perfect. Like we made no mistakes. We made conscious decisions, and that's just not the case. You know, you gotta let them know, hey, I messed up more than once. Took me a minute to get it right, you know.
Yeah, and that helps them build resilience too, because then they go, okay, when I mess up, I keep going. You know, I got to keep
Right.
grinding through whatever I'm, you know, working on.
Right, because if dad is all perfect, and if I mess up, I'm scared to go tell dad that I messed up. I don't even want to talk about it. And then imagine if I mess up and it's like you just get in trouble, but not, let's talk about the things. What did you learn? What did you get out of this situation? Because sometimes that's honestly why some people don't learn their lesson. It's just like, oh, I'm gonna do it again. Like, because nobody's even telling you like that was the wrong move. You know.
Well, and saying I
Wow.
messed up, saying I made a mistake too. I mean, again, it has them trust you, right? So because you're being honest with them. I had another thought, but I left.
But you look human.
But being
you look
consistent
human
about it is big, right? Because imagine if I make that mistake as a kid, and I know, or I think, oh, my dad's never made that mistake before. I'm gonna feel way worse about it. But if I know other people around me, especially my parents, are, you know, honest about making those mistakes, oh, okay, I'm not. It's not the end of the world. I can continue going forward.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So my next thing is this whole man box. I just love talking about the man box. But a lot of young men are battling with being kept in this man box. Honestly, some dads too, you know, just because it's it's a lot on you all as men, how you should be, how you should act, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. It is a lot on you all that we don't talk about. And it's a lot of expected of you all as well. So what advice do you have for those dads and leaders that are struggling to be outside of that man box? Or, you know, I know for you, Mark, you said when I had my son, I was young and I was teaching the same things I knew, you know? So what if I am a dad that, no, I should be this way and I should be doing this and this is what I'm going to teach my son? What is some advice that you have for those dads that are battling with being outside that man box? Because as Mitch will always say, who who you what did you always used to say, Mitch? You used to always saying, bro, no one defines who a man is, but you define yourself. So how could somebody else tell you what you're supposed to be? Now I'll never forget that because you always used to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's my favorite topic to talk about, bro, because every single group, whether it's adults or boys or with every single group of, because I would do it in the 40-hour too and get the same responses.
Yes.
The exact same, and it's always interesting.
Yeah, and think about it, if these teenagers are going to grow up to be dads or they're already dads. So it's like, what if we have these individuals that are battling with being in this man box, but have sons that they have to raise and teach? So what would be some advice for that?
I feel like it's imperative for the parents to find out what their biases are. You know, if you walking around and you don't feel like you have no biases and you guiding someone, you guiding your children, come on. Like it's not a good look. So that's number one right there. Be able to accept it and work on it. Once you find, I know when I was initially began working with you all, that job brought so much out of me that I didn't know. I'm telling you, I used to tell Mr. Rubin all the time, like, I found this out about myself. And I don't know if I not know it, or was it some of the stuff so
Embedded in you.
bad, no, so bad that I didn't want to admit it, but it came out, and it's like sometimes it came out right in group, you know,
Yeah, right.
and I was okay with that because that let them see I'm human. I'm not perfect. I'm not, coming in here, with a badge and saying, hey, I did it all right. I didn't know. I made a lot of mistakes. In order to get where I'm at today, I had to make those mistakes. It what I call it trial and error.
Yeah.
It wasn't working. What I was doing back when I was younger, it wasn't working. It ran every female away from me that might have cared about. Why as they keep leaving me? What's going on? Right? I'm a good person. I got a good heart. Yeah, I got a good heart, but you're doing some messed up things. Let's be real.
Yeah. And what you just said there goes back to you have to recognize your biases. If I don't recognize that I have these blind spots, I don't recognize I have these negative behaviors, then I'm not going to change it or teach differently, right? That's the biggest thing. And then I'm 1000% with you in terms of when I started working in South Suburban Family Shelter. At first you feel like I'm kind of just going through the motions. Then you start talking about these things and you find out those things about yourself, which is, it's powerful. And everybody should have a chance to, whether you go to therapy or just talk honestly to family or friends, you have to have those conversations in order to find out about it, right? Mm-hmm. What am I uncomfortable with? What do I need to do to get outside of that, that man box? I'm calling my friend this name and that because they're not doing these things, right? And at the same time, I'm sitting here teaching kids about it, like the opposite. It was therapeutic just to talk about it. So that's such a big part. You have to be vulnerable to that, which growing up, that's something that my dad was never scared of showing, that like the emotion, like we have emotions, even though we are men, we have it's okay to cry. And so I was able to see that.
Look at Mark, he's like, no.
I felt that when he said that, because I wish like I couldn't cry. I mean, ooh. Yeah. I mean, I could have, it was times I was physically hurt. And I started to cry, and I'd be punched in my chest and told not to cry because I was a boy. You a boy. Boys don't cry. And that's confusing.
Yeah.
That's confusing. You try to figure it out. Like, I know this hurt. You're not gonna tell me what hurt and what not hurt.
Right.
I feel it.
Yeah. But everything else is telling me to cry, except for you,
Exactly. But eventually it affected, I don't know, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, as I got older and things happened, I would not cry. When I got shot up, I didn't cry. I didn't cry. I felt like, okay, this what comes with the life. This what goes with it. I know, hey. Yeah. I didn't cry probably until years down the line, once I got after getting a lot of therapy and realizing, hey, I'm human. I cry like females do. I feel those same emotions. You take our guys that we work with, that we used to work with. When it came down to the simplest things of expressing their feelings, one feeling word, they always stuck to that one. I'm good. I'm good.
Or I'm happy.
It was like pulling teeth. I used to get so mad, like, oh my God, do they not know any feeling words?
Yeah, anger is the only acceptable one. You could be angry, and that's it.
I was gonna say, Mitch and Zach, from bro. It's like, okay, you said this 3 weeks in a row. Nothing happened. Nothing happened in 3 weeks that made you feel any differently.
My lady though, I tell you, my lady, she teased me right now to this day. She say, man, the way you express yourself now, you express yourself a little bit too much now. Like man up.
Get in that box.
I feel like I'm crying for all the times I couldn't. I wasn't allowed.
This is backed up tears.
Hey, I'll jump on that train too, Mark. And I'll be vulnerable right here because this is embarrassing. But my wife will come in from work or from wherever, and I'm sitting there like watching like YouTube of like The Voice golden buzzers, and I'm sitting there crying. She's like, "What's the matter with you?" I was like, "It's beautiful. It's beautiful." I'm like, maybe I need to get some of those things from the box.
Yes, feelings.
Feelings.
Yeah, and especially like even with my son, like I had for somebody like stop crying. I'm just like he's hurt. He's 2. He can cry. He's 2. Like what is happening?
But in terms of like the guys in PAPE or guys in bro or most men, I think I'm comfortable saying most men, there's not the vocabulary for it, right? And that's something I try to do with my 4th graders. Like every day we check in and I give them like a list of, just have the vocabulary to put it to it. Because otherwise I'm angry, I'm happy, I'm sad, period, end of story. But you got to have the vocabulary. You got to understand what those feelings are. I'm scared. I'm not angry, I'm scared.
Right. And that's what I remember doing that, Mitch. It's like, okay, you're angry, but let's break it down. You're embarrassed or you're sad. Like let's use some other words because sometimes all we know is happier. Yep. Like they say, going from 0 to 100, either you're happy or you're angry. That's all people know about.
Like what's your the underlying issue? Like if my lady then cheated on me, yes, I'm angry. I can say the word pissed. I'm pissed. Right? However, the underlying issue is I'm hurt. I'm hurt. Loyalty was broken, a bond was broken. That's what was really going on. But as a man, we don't supposed to be able to be that vulnerable and say that someone has hurt us. We're supposed to be tough at all times.
Right. Right.
And I don't know, do you guys still for bro use the iceberg?
The iceberg, yeah. Yep. How was that, Zach? I know that you probably use that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely still use the iceberg. And one of the things that we do in bro is similar to I think what they do in the PAPE program where when we talk about like the man box, we think I think sometimes we think it comes from like society or it comes from this or that, but it's usually the people I think that are really close to you. So what we do in that is like we find someone who's setting the example, one of their peers who's setting the example and say, well, look at what this student's doing. Like they're demonstrating the right behaviors because, it's maybe I'm at a school, maybe I'm only there for 8 weeks. So maybe, they know I'm going to be gone in 8 weeks. So maybe I'm not the person who they're going to really, model, so to speak. But if there's another student who's going to be with them for all these years and they see that student's leading, well, that could be really helpful, I think.
Yeah. And the whole the man box thing is it's a funny line to walk on because when I was coaching swimming when I was doing that and I was coaching little kids and like one kid's like, I'm out of breath. Can I have a seat? And I'm like, man up, go. And I'm like, wait, maybe let me just change the words, right? I'm not gonna let you just come sit out because you're tired. Like keep going through it. There's a balance there. And even now I coach high school kids and a lot of the times they're like, I need to go to the bathroom for 20 minutes to go sit there and do nothing. But it's like, no, get in. Like it's a funny balance to like try to teach that toughness and strength and all that because without like demeaning, if you don't know those things. So it's something I continue to struggle with. And just to find out not only about myself, but about like, how I interact with others, especially kids I teach or coach. It's like, you got to find the balance of how to teach I guess, positive things that are usually in that man box, right? Without demeaning who they are.
Right. That's a really good example too. We're using it with the sports because I know you're like, wait, no, wait, okay, yeah, just go to the bathroom. It's fine. Let's just go. So they're probably like, is it fine? Is it fine?
Yeah.
That is great. Okay, so lastly, have you had any experiences that was either positive or negative that you had to learn from that you can give an example from other people? So maybe just for example, maybe domestic violence wasn't taught in your household and then you got into a relationship and had to learn the hard way what domestic violence was. So was there any situation that you've experienced that you've had to learn from that, given this example, could help another student or help another young man or young woman?
Thinking something I learned from my dad is just, and it's in a positive way, just to be there, like the power of just being in, like especially in a tough situation, whether it's like a family member passes away, or when you get broken up with, or you lose a job, or somebody gets sick, like just the power of being there is powerful, right? Because he was always the guy and is always the guy in the family that, like, when those sort of situations are occurring, he's hurting, but he's always been like the rock, right? And that's something that I've just kind of recognized myself, like, I don't want to go do this thing, but I got to go be there. I have to be there. That's like, that's important. So just that, and again, it wasn't a direct conversation or anything. It's just that consistent example of show up. You don't even have to say anything when you show up. Just show up and let whoever it is that needs you there, let them know that you're there.
That's really interesting. I like that though. Like no one ever really put that into terms, but it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, interesting. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think I would say more so in my family. It's I think it's similar to what Mitch is saying, like as far as being there, because a lot of the things that we talked about today is like, don't do this, don't do that. But it's like, if someone's really going through something, you kind of just need to let them go through it instead of pushing it off to, whatever it surfaces back up. Um, so yeah, I think, and also just letting people go through it and letting people figure it out too. It's like, what's the conversation a lot, I think, today is about young people, and it's like they do have to figure it out. And I think that was one of the themes that I heard both of you, or everyone really talking about too. It's, you get the guidance, but also the space too.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to go with it's like the opposite of what Mr. Mitch said. Like everything that my biological father, wasn't there to do, to teach me, and being there, all of that, financially, physically, because you need them all. You need it all in order to survive in this world. Uh, his lack of, once I got my children, actually before I got my children, when I had my twin nieces, because my brother was incarcerated at the time. Those was actually my first kids that I actually took care of. It pushed me to be a better father. And I think it's crazy because I try to think about that sometimes, because I know other situations where guys didn't have a father and they implemented exactly what they didn't have. They, once they got kids, they was the same way. Didn't take care of their responsibilities. But then you have guys like myself that didn't have, and it motivated us. It made us make an oath. Hey, when I have my kids, I'm not gonna be like that, you know. But for me myself, and I can only speak for me, I give that. I, I salute my mother for that as well, because my mother didn't speak bad about my father. She never once, she all she said was, as you get older, when you get those questions, you take it to him. Because that I would spend my money to go see him, go down south to visit him. Up until the day he died, I was there, and to this day I love him. I just didn't understand. Like, I'm a good kid. Why are you not there? You know, especially at times when I need you, you know, or my mother needs you. So it motivated me. It kicked me in gear, you know.
That definitely makes sense.
Like I'm not doing that because I don't like the way this feels. So I'm not doing that.
Exactly.
Exactly. Like, you know, what don't feel good. You know what you went through. Like, I get it. You know, even going through, you know, adoption and, you know, drug use and all that of my parents doing. When you get your child, it's like, okay, I know I'm not doing that.
Not
Or, you
doing that.
know, it's like I'm a love on you a little bit harder because I know how it feel, you know, to be
Yeah.
without, you know. So I definitely can understand that.
You know, having, you know, when you in grade school and they having what they used to call them back then, sock hops, and they, you know, your father dance and things like that. And I'm seeing my friends, it's me and my mother. I'm like, nah, I love my mother, but man, this ain't it, you know, like.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's definitely understandable. Wow. But
And
this
sorry. I had another
is
thought there.
awesome.
As you're saying that, it's another time you have to be like vulnerable and honest with your own self, like about things that you know you learn negatively. Like I know there's things, like I said, I'm just like my dad, so I know there's things like that I take after him and that aren't great. And you have to be honest with yourself. Don't go, okay, you know, let's work on this specifically, instead of just burying it and hiding it. But like, no, I have this, you know, whatever, this fault, this blind spot. Let me dig deep and try to fix
But
it.
see, that's the importance of the accountability part, you know, in which you all have taught, you know, just you all working in this job alone, you know, you have to, because that also, you're being honest within yourself to know, okay, what do I need to work on? What do I not need to work on? At least I know these are my flaws, these are my weaknesses, you know, because sometimes people walk around like, nope, nothing wrong with me. Nope, that's not a bad thing. That's just how I was raised. This is me. This is the way it is. You know, a lot of people have that this is me, accept it. I'm not working on anything mindset. So that makes a lot of sense. Awesome. Well, do you have any last minute things, anything that you would like to share, even if it's regarding the topic that we spoke about today?
I, I I just want to leave with this for those that are watching, that to the, and this directly to the young man. If you are about to be a father, if you are a father and you know that you may be lacking, step up. We see what's going on out here in the world. You know, we're not saying it's 100% you know, proof that it'll change the whole entire world, but it's you playing your part. Step up.
Yeah, I like that. I just got the chills.
Like that as an ending. Step up.
Oh, now.
Hashtag step up. No.
For real.
No, seriously, that was a great leave off. That was great. And I do just want to say, just thank you so much to those that are tuning in right now. If you have any questions, any concerns, any comments, please leave that in the chat. I do just want to thank you all so much, Mark, Zach, and Mitch. I really, really appreciate it. I was so excited for this topic and this conversation. So you all just brought a lot of knowledge, and you know, you just came being just very authentic. And I know that this episode can really help somebody else, or make them feel like, okay, dang, I went through that too. I'm not the only one. You know, like Mark, like you were saying, I'm not the only one who messed up. I'm not the only one who went through that. And still, you know, what's the tea is also just to bring that human, like, you know, we're all professionals, but we're all human, you know.
Yes, man.
So yes, we have the resources. Yes, we're great advocates, great teachers, you know, but we're human and we had to learn and we had to go through things. So yeah, I just want to thank you all so very much. And like we always say, tune in next Tuesday, same time, same place, different tea. Have a good day, everybody.
It was
Bye.
wonderful seeing you all.
Nice seeing you. Bye.